I'm Susan Odell. Welcome to the Foodell Kitchen. Many recipes call for toasted nuts. Whenever you're cooking with walnuts or pine nuts or macadamia nuts, typically the recipe will say to toast them. And there are really two ways. It's not hard to do, but you just want to keep an eye on them. You either can do them on the stovetop in a dry pan or pop them in the oven, which I use if the oven is already on. Let's have a look. The stovetop method is really simple. Take a dry pan and add your nuts. I'm using pine nuts here. You don't want them to be too deep. Kind of a single layer is best. Put them on the stove on, maybe a medium heat. And the key is don't go too far away because they'll burn really quickly. You want them to just start getting that really nutty aroma and start to brown just a little bit. So I'm going to stay close by. The other method is if you're already using your oven, say it's on 350 or 375, either one works, just take your nuts and pour them on a baking tray. Same thing, you can put a lot on there, but you don't want them to be overlapping too much. A single layer is best. Just lay them out, pop them in the oven, and keep an eye on them. They're going to take between 3 and maybe 6 minutes, depending on the nut, depending on if you have a dark pan, which cooks faster, or a light colored pan. But again, don't go too far. Keep an eye on them and watch for them to start to brown. So I'm just going to come over here, and as I see my nuts start to brown, I'm going to give them a little toss. It's not too hard, like I say, but if the phone rings, they're sure to burn. So as you see the nuts starting to brown, just give them a little stir, just to make sure they evenly brown and don't burn on one side. Once I can see my nuts are nice and brown and they smell nice and I see them almost getting a little oily, I'm going to take them off the heat and I'm going to take them out of the pan because they'll continue to cook. So if you're going to chop the nuts after you toast them, make sure to let the nuts cool a little bit. There's a lot of oils that are released in the toasting process, and your nuts can become kind of a paste if you're not careful. The toasting really brings out the flavor of the nut, and it takes that rawness away, so it's a really good practice to get into. But remember, if you're toasting nuts for one recipe, why not toast a bunch of nuts? You can always use what you need today and freeze the rest, and then you've already got toasted nuts at the ready. Bon appetit.